Hi, Ben here from Trident Fly Fishing. I've got with me today one of the most exciting rods for the 2020 season, the all-new Scott Sector, and I'm going to show you how it compares to the very popular Scott Meridian right now. Scott gave us a big surprise this year by discontinuing the very popular Meridian and replacing it with the all-new Sector. And I've got to say, it's one of the rods that I've been most waiting to cast ever since I heard about the Meridian being discontinued. Before we get to that, we're going to walk you through some of these features and show you how this rod is a little bit different from the old Meridian. Starting from the bottom of the rod, not much has changed from the old Meridian. It starts with a nice fighting butt and a dual uplocking anodized aluminum reel seat. And we especially like the one that Scott has put on here because it's asymmetrical, so you never have to worry about that band moving around and have to fiddle with it on the water. And then we've got one of the better full wells grips on the market. It's just a really comfortable design and moves that hump a little bit further up so it fits nicely, particularly if you've got larger hands. It's also thicker at the top, which allows you to remove a little bit of pressure from your top two fingers as you grip the rod. Gives you a little bit of extra casting power there. Then we move on to the blank. You can see right away that this is where it all changes, and that Sector is built with an all-new graphite technology. Scott calls it carbon web technology. If you look under the Scott label, you can see that it's woven very differently from a traditional carbon rod. Scott tells us that it increases torsional stability, and overall it should make the rod lighter and more accurate than the old Meridian was. But we'll get to that later. As we move up the rod, you're going to see pretty traditional Scott construction, that unsanded blank, really nice finishing wraps. If I were to give it a score or ranking amongst the rods that we carry, I'd say it's probably a little bit above Sage in terms of its look and feel, but probably just a hair below the really top-notch finished rods like Winston and TNT. Then we get to these really cool ultralight Cerakoil stripping guides. They're cool because you can kind of bend them and move back into place. And of course, being a saltwater rod, they will never corrode. And my guess is that these took off a little bit of swing weight on the rod as well. Finally, we've got these great titanium snake guides that finish up what is superb componentry on this new rod. Now let's get out in the field and show you how it casts. Starting at 40 feet, you'll notice right away that the Sector is a bit softer of a rod than the old Meridian was. It's got a lot better accuracy and, more importantly, feel in close for those short casts. I really think it's going to make an excellent bonefish rod, and particularly a wading bonefish rod, because you can cast a line like SA bonefish, which is what we use today, at accurately and more importantly with better presentation at shorter distances than you could on the old rod. Moving back to 60 feet, the Sector is still really good, and again you can feel that nice progressive action that Scott has refined into this rod from the Meridian. I feel like it casts light lines like SA bonefish a little bit better at the middle distances. Again, this is going to be a superb flats rod, and actually probably a little bit better of a salmon rod as well if you're looking to get dual use out of it. The Meridian, on the other hand, retains its excellent accuracy as well at 60 feet. You know, this is kind of the bread and butter saltwater shot, whether it's on the boat or on the flat. Finally, moving back to 80 feet, I felt like the softer action of the Sector wasn't quite as good as the Meridian was at long distances. That slightly softer action doesn't have as much power, particularly when you're trying to aerialize a lot of line like with an SA bonefish. Interestingly though, if you switch to a short-headed line like an outbound short or an SA Titan taper, you're going to get really good performance, as the Sector still has a very stiff butt section, and it'll still load it really well. So if you're a Northeast striper fisherman and you're just looking to chuck a lot of line out there, I wouldn't shy away from the Sector just because it's a little bit softer in the tip. I think overall it's just a really versatile rod. Now it's time for the Poseidon Score. Starting with accuracy, I gave the Sector a 9 out of 10. It's really accurate, but perhaps could be a little bit more accurate at longer distances, particularly with a really popular line like SA bonefish. In terms of components, the Scott Sector is top-notch. The new Cerakoil guides are awesome, and it's really one of the best appointed rods out there, so it's a 10 out of 10. Distance, the Sector is a little bit softer than the old Meridian, which is definitely not the fastest rod out there. And when you compare it to rods that are really designed for distance casting, like the 7-foot 10 weight Orvis H3D, it leaves a little bit to be desired, but not a ton, particularly with a short-headed line like an outbound short. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Overall, a really good, well-rounded rod. The grip is one of our favorites for saltwater, so I've awarded it a 9 out of 10. In terms of looks, Scott's got a nice hand-built quality to it, but it's perhaps not as nice as, say, a TNT or a Winston, so we've given it a 9 out of 10. In terms of swing weight, the Sector comes in at 81 gram meters squared, which is just a touch lighter than the Meridian, so we're going to give it the same swing weight score of 9 out of 10. In terms of value, the Sector is a very expensive rod, retailing at $985. It's one of the more expensive fly rods on the market today. Because of that, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. You still do get a pretty decent value with all of the top-notch componentry and build quality. Finally, the cool factor is a 10 out of 10. As we mentioned before, the cool factor changes throughout the life of the rod, but right now, this is the hottest rod on the market and definitely the one that's going to impress all of your friends on the water. That leaves us with a total Poseidon score of 71 out of 80 and our highest score to date. The all-new Scott Sector retails for $985 and is available with free second-day air shipping from tridentflyfishing.com. If you have questions about this rod or any rod in the Scott lineup, don't hesitate to give us a call at 888-413-5211 or email us 24/7 at support@tridentflyfishing.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on all the great rod reviews that we're doing for the 2020 season. And let us know what your favorite saltwater rod is by leaving a comment in the box below. I'm Ben, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.